Facebook and Instagram are not going to bring you traffic. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel where I teach content creators and online entrepreneurs how to grow and monetize their influence online. So if you haven't yet hit subscribe, hit the subscribe button below so you can be notified of each and every weekly video that I post out on. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the top 7 biggest blogging mistakes that I made and I wish I hadn't, and those that you can easily avoid using my tips and strategies. So stay tuned. Mistake number 1, having no idea who you're writing for. So writing random blog posts for anyone and everyone is a bit like shooting random rockets and hoping that one will land on a planet that has life on it. Nope. If you're planning to be a professional blogger, then the number 1 thing that you need to figure out is who your target audience is. And I get it, in the beginning it can be really confusing. You might have 6 different interests and you might want to blog about every interest. You might like food, travel, fashion, lots of different things, but that doesn't mean that your audience likes the same interests. At the beginning, when you're just starting out, it can be really hard to focus on one particular passion or one particular audience, but I highly recommend that you do. What you need to do instead is to spend time understanding who is the target audience of your blog. Who is your actual ideal reader? Call it what you may, ideal avatar, ideal client, ideal target audience. The idea remains the same. You need to spend time understanding who is actually reading your blog. What do they do in their free time? Do they have a college degree? Are they educated or not? Do they have the same passions as you? How much money do they make? So that you can have a better idea of what kind of content would actually speak to this audience. Now, for example, when I started my travel blog in summer of 2018, it took me a while to actually figure out who my target audience was. But after a few months of testing out different content ideas and posts, I went into my Google Analytics, checked out my demographics under my audience, and figured out what my audience looked like. And I understood that most of my audience was actually in the age group of 25 to 34. They were people who were living in big cities, who wanted to take 1 or 2 international trips abroad, and who were highly interested in budget travel. And this is what I used to define my content strategy month on month, and this is how I gained a lot of traction really fast. Another way to know exactly what your audience wants and which content is your top performing content is to go into your Google Analytics, go into content and landing pages, and see exactly which landing pages people are responding to. It's obvious that people who are seeing more of your content are more interested in that topic, and that topic is something that you can actually develop and grow in your blog. Mistake number 2, trying to master 5 different social media platforms at the same time. If you're a new blogger and you've just started out, you probably also have a 9-to-5 job, you have bills to take care of, you have friends and family. So if you try to master Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, everything at the same time, you are not setting yourself up for success. At the beginning, when you have limited time and limited resources and you're still in the beginning stages of building your audience, it is so important to focus on 1, maximum 2 social media platforms so that you can first master the ones that give you the maximum impact and actually take your blog forward. If you're just starting out and you want to build your Facebook and Instagram audience, I will give you the cold hard truth right away. And this is it. Facebook and Instagram are not going to bring you traffic. Those are not search engines. They are social media platforms where you connect with your audience and build a brand and engage with the people that follow you. But those are not necessarily the places for you to actually grow your organic reach. If you're looking to grow your organic reach, you should be looking at platforms such as Google SEO. You should be looking at Pinterest because that's also a search engine. You should be looking at YouTube because that's also a search engine. Look at search engines if your aim is to grow your traffic and your audience. Don't look at all of these social media platforms where vanity metrics are the game. Don't just aim at having 10,000 Instagram followers with no strategy in mind. Yes, it's great to have great followers. It's great to have a good audience, but those followers don't necessarily convert into readers or subscribers for your blog. So keep that in mind when you are creating a social media marketing strategy, and make sure that you master the most important platforms first and then focus on the other ones later. If you're interested in growing your traffic and income through Pinterest, then I have a lot of videos on this channel which are in my Pinterest tips playlist. You can also check out my free Pinterest traffic checklist in the show notes below, and also my Pinterest traffic explosion course, which is my master step-by-step course to explode your traffic and income using Pinterest. Mistake number 3, having a blog on WordPresscom is not a real thing. So for the longest time, I actually didn't know what a self-hosted blog was, and once I realized the blunder that I had made, I actually had to shut down my blog and migrate it to a self-hosted platform, to a completely different domain, and that was a lot of work. So if you're just starting out and someone has told you that you can start on WordPresscom and pay $25 a month for a business plan, don't do it. Just don't. The right way to start a blog is to actually have your own self-hosted space so that you can have access to all of the data, all of the customization options, all of the things that you need to grow your blog and not have to rely on a third-party platform to run your blog, which is WordPresscom or Squarespace or Wix. Now, if you're just going to be a hobby blogger or you're using your blog as an extension to sell your portfolio, your products and your services, then it's a great idea to have a blog on these websites because those are kind of all-in-one platforms. They don't require a lot of setup in the beginning and it's easy to get started with them. But if you're planning to be a professional blogger and you actually want to have a high level of customization, then I would highly recommend going with a self-hosted blog as well as a WordPress.org, which is your CMS, because that will give you maximum options for customization and help you grow your blog the way you want and have 100% control over how your blog grows. I also have a really useful video that I shot on how to start a profitable blog for beginners that actually makes money. You can check it out in the cards above and also in the description below. The bottom line is this: if you want to make money blogging, please start with a self-hosted blog. It's not as hard as you think and it's 200% worth it. Mistake number 4, and this is a critical mistake. This mistake set me back so long and it's something that took me forever to figure out. This is not having a clear niche and not having a clear blog strategy about your niche. So a lot of people have different ideas about what your niche should be, and some people do thrive in niches such as lifestyle, where they blog about everything under the sun and their blogs do really well. In my case, my experience was the opposite. I realized that the more specific and targeted my niche was, the more traction I could get, the more viral content I could create, and the more shares and comments and engagement I was getting on my blog. Now, it wasn't always easy for me to figure it out, to be honest. I started with an expat blog that turned into a lifestyle blog, that turned into a career blog, that turned into a travel blog. And finally, I have a budget travel blog, which is focused on Europe. And I have a separate website, which is my business and marketing website. So I've completely niched down and I've figured out exactly how to serve my audience in each of these niches. So I'm not going to tell you that one niche is necessarily better than the other, although there are some niches that are better than the other, but it also highly depends on what you like to do and what you think you could create products and services in so that you could actually monetize and make money, which I hope is your goal with your blog, because if you're not trying to be a professional blogger, then you probably shouldn't be watching this video in the first place. So here's my 3 tips on actually niching the heck down. So the first thing that I want you to focus on is passion, right? So if you know me even a little bit, you know that I'm super passionate about travel. This is why I chose the topic of my first actual real blog, which I started about 1.5 years ago, was travel. I knew that this is something that I was so passionate about that I could just not stop thinking about it from the moment that I started my day to the moment that I went to bed. I was never not planning my next trip, you know? Even if I had no money and I had no savings, I would still be dreaming about going to Peru or Bolivia or the next exotic destination. My bucket lists don't ever end. So I want you to think about, what is that thing for you? What can you not stop talking about, right? What is your passion? What makes you tick? The second tip that I have for you, if you want to monetize your blog and actually have a strategic niche, is to see if there is depth in the content or depth in the niche. Now, you could be excited about training dogs, but how much content can you generate that would actually be monetizable? Finding a niche that you're passionate about is not enough. It's also important for you to go real deep and see how well can you write and post about this niche. So how much content can you actually create sustainably over time? Lastly, the niche that you pick should have the ability to monetize. So when I think about travel, I think about a $1 billion industry that grows every year, not just with flights and tourism agencies and hotels and millennial travel trends and all of that, but I also think about the potential of this industry to grow. So there are a million ways to monetize a travel blog. However, when I think about, let's say, a niche called dog products, I'm limited to just the brands and the companies that sell dog products. By default, that is a small market, right? And it's really hard to create an unfair advantage in such a small niche down market. So don't niche down so much that you have essentially no market. Now, I want you to really also think about what is your unfair advantage when it comes to the niche that you pick. If you are selling dog products and if you have a dog blog or a dog training blog, you can actually make a lot of money if you have some sort of unfair advantage. Maybe you're a famous dog trainer, maybe you have a lot of awards, maybe you're well known in your country for this particular niche and this particular authority. In that case, it would help you to actually go ahead and start your blog in that niche. But for all of the rest of us normal human beings who are non-famous, it's important to really think about, do you have the ability to monetize your niche? Wrapping it up, the 3 things that you need to have an awesome niche is passion, depth, and ability to monetize. If you don't have these three, it's going to be really hard to sustain a long-term blogging career because blogging does not happen overnight. You're not going to become a professional blogger in 24 hours. Mistake number 5, not having a clear monetization strategy. Now, this is not so much as a mistake as it is a lack of knowledge. And to be honest, when I first started out, for the first 18 months, I had no idea that it was actually possible to make money from a blog. Hence, I didn't monetize my blog. In fact, it was just an expensive hobby for me, and I was doing it pretty much on and off with no clear strategy in my mind. This changed when I started my second blog and actually grew it to $3,000 or $4,000 a month consistent passive income. And this is why I'm telling you that even if you're just starting out, it does not hurt to think about a monetization strategy. So what are the different ways that you can actually make money from your blog? Is it through selling advertisements? Is it through selling sponsorships? Is it through products? Is it through services? Is it through affiliate marketing? Whatever it is, make sure that you have a clear monetization strategy in mind. And like I said about focusing on too many things at the same time, it's the same for monetization strategy as well. Focus on one thing at a time, do that really well, and then focus on the next thing. Don't try to monetize your blog with 5 different things at the beginning. You will be overwhelmed and you're gonna give up, and we don't want that to happen, right? For example, in my case, I realized that there were some ways that I liked of monetization and some ways that I really didn't like. And to be honest, I was never a huge fan of sponsorships because I was blogging all the while part-time up until very recently, and I didn't really have the time to actually write a lot of proposals, pitch to potential clients and brands, and get all of these fancy sponsorships. And I also knew that this wasn't sustainable. I knew that this wasn't scalable. So I was always looking for ways to monetize my blog, which was actually scalable for me. This was through selling advertising space, through selling my own digital products, and through affiliate marketing. These are the 3 things that I think can be in the long run really beneficial and really passive streams of income if you know how to do it well and if you've done the work that you need to set it up in the beginning. Mistake number 6, not investing in your blog. Now, I want you to take a second and think about it. Would you start a brand new business with 0 capital? No, right? Then why are you hesitant to spend $10 a month on what could be a huge business for you? Even if you're just starting out and even if you have a very small budget, make sure that you have a learning budget, that you actually invest in the right ebooks, in the right courses, in the right tools, in the right coaching if you can afford it, or even in just the tech that you need to actually operate and sustain a blog. It took me a while to understand this, and I learned this lesson the second time I started a new blog, which is also my most profitable blog to date. Right? I've probably spent more than I could afford at that time. I was a student and I didn't have a lot of money to spare, but I made sure that I invested anywhere between $50 to $100 in learning how to grow my blog. And the more money I made, the more I invested back into my blog. I wasn't just simply using that money to travel the world and chill out and buy new purses or bags. I was actually using that. In fact, I was reinvesting all of my profits into my blog, and that helped me blow up my blog. This thing is something that is so close to my heart because I see so many bloggers just wondering and wishing that they would make money from their blog. Even if you can only spare $5 or $10 a month, make sure you find the right tools to invest in your blog's growth. Because if you want your blog to be a business, you need to start treating it like a business. You need to start thinking and acting like a business owner even before it generates a profit. If you're interested in figuring out what are the top blogging tools that I use, I have linked them down in my description below, so make sure to check them out to know which tools I use to power up my websites. So this brings me to the last mistake that I made and that I want you to avoid when you start blogging. And this mistake is not realizing how important an email list is. At the beginning of my blogging journey, I really thought that it was so important to have amazing following on Instagram or on social media, and I thought this would somehow magically translate into money, right? It doesn't happen like that. If you're in the business for the long run, and if you truly want to own your audience, and if you don't want to build a business on rented land, make sure that you start thinking about how to have a list building strategy in place and how to actually incorporate more of email marketing so you can connect to people that actually read your blog. Because let's be honest here, if you're thinking of selling products or services in the future, you have a much higher chance of converting your subscribers than you have a chance of just adding a random swipe up link and getting people to buy that product. Of course that works, after you reach a certain point. But at the beginning, it is so important to generate trust and generate authority and generate engagement with your readers. And those readers that are actually going to turn into clients and customers are going to be a part of your email list. So make sure that you don't underestimate how important your email list is, and when you start your blog, to have a list building and a growth strategy so that you can actually benefit from it down the line. When I first started out, I think I grew pretty small, and the reason why I actually switched my niche and started all over with my travel blog was because I wanted to have a targeted list. I wanted to have a targeted audience that would actually come back and buy my products and my recommendations so that I could actually monetize this audience of customers as well. And this is what really helped me grow my list, right? So in the beginning, when I had my expat blog, I think I had 50 or 100 random people who had just signed up, probably just my friends and family. But when I started with my travel blog and had a consistent list building strategy, I started to add 200, 300 subscribers every month. And this is what happens when you have a clear niche, when you have a clear content strategy, and when you make sure that you actually convert your readers into subscribers so that in the future you can actually benefit and monetize your subscriber base. So that's all for today's video. Let me know if you made one of these mistakes in the comments below and what you're planning to do to fix it. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, make sure to hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.